One I love I can remember when I read books, horror novels at the middle grade age, when an author respected me and when they didn't. If you give me your little Bunnicula story, it's fine, it's cute, everybody loves Bunnicula, but it was also a little bit pedant, what's the word I'm looking for? Pedantic.
Pedantic,
A little bit,
yes.
oh, he's training carrots. Isn't that scary? No, it's not scary. Give me the real horror. And then you read something like I've talked at length about The Witches by Roald Dahl, but it's the first book where I was like, yes, thank you, Mr. Dahl. That's
Legit scary with the whole head moving. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
well, and I mean, kids don't technically die without first being transformed, but it's not subtle. They're dying.
It is decidedly not. He did not pull any punches.
Spoiler, who gets drowned after having been transformed into a mouse. And like the fact that he got transformed into a mouse does not change what happened to him. You did not beautify it sufficiently to make that not death. So why did I go on that way? Oh, because I wanted to talk about this idea that because this story does go right at it without getting too deep. It is more than a cancer book. We're looking right at trauma, which will be very real for children. So why is it important to have that, that for middle grade readers can have that trust that it won't end bleak, that we will come out of the darkness? Why can't we end really tragically sad? I mean, sometimes life does end that way, right?
It's true. And there are books that are for middle grade that do that. Like when I say I've often said like that's the rule, because a lot of people in the horror circles that I traffic in, I'm one of the few middle grade writers. Most of the people I know who write horror are adults. And so I've been in scenarios where I've been on panels and they're like, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between middle grade and adult horror? You can't have a body count, you can't have gore, you can't have blood. I'm like, you can do all those things. Like, that's fine. But my rule is always that your reader trusts you, that in the end it's going to work out okay. And that is the rule until it's not the rule. And there are definitely books out there where it does not work out okay. I mean, something like A Monster Calls, which I actually, when I was pitching this book my agent was pitching this book to editors, was one of the comps that they used. And now I don't know if you're familiar with A Monster Calls, but it does not end well. It ends incredibly sadly, and it faces that sadness. It faces death because that was the only trajectory it could possibly be on. And I think that what the author did in there was really important and really good, because while so much middle grade is like, oh, it's going to get dark, it's going to get bleak, it's going to get dark, but like, hey, the kids win, hooray. When A Monster Calls is like, it's going to get dark, it's going to get dark, it's going to get dark, and it's going to end exactly where you knew in your heart of hearts it was going to end, where we all sort of end. And it is one of the best books I've ever read on explaining the complexities of death to a child. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful book. So I don't think that it has to go that way. I use it as like a guideline. I mean, I could have had terrible things happen by the end of this book if I really wanted to, but I didn't want to. I wanted to write about a girl that learned how to face what had happened to her and how to find another path, to find not the life she left behind, because I don't like to think of it that way, but just to find how to keep going, So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the rule. Like, I know lots of other middle grade horror writers will say, you have to bring them back to the light at the end. Like, you can't just like abandon these kids in absolute bleakness. But sometimes there are books that do, and those books are really important and they exist for a reason. And I think those also help kids. So honestly, I feel like I just exist in this world where like all books for kids are good. like not that they're all good books, but like I think everyone who sets out to write a story for a kid is coming from a place of empathy, and I think that's the best thing that books can be and what they can do, which is to just basically be like, this was my terrible experience or my great experience or my crazy experience. Does anyone know what that feels like? And you put it in a book, and then someone on the other side of the world is like, yeah, I know exactly that feeling. And then like you've done a better job at being a human together, you know, like you understand each other a little bit more. And I think that's the whole point of books. And I think that's especially the point of books for kids. Just to make the world feel a little more manageable, maybe a little smaller, maybe like a place they belong.
Fair enough. I like it. I hereby sign off. I agree. You should bring the kids back to the light as often as possible. It's a story. Let's end it nicely, and then they'll find out about the darker endings on their own soon.
Sure.